So usually when you sit down for a meal at a nice dinner party, you expect a crisp napkin, maybe some polite conversation about the weather.
Right, something very relaxed.
Yeah, exactly. But imagine pulling up a chair and being told straight to your face to put a knife to your throat.
Oh, wow.
Or imagine eating this incredibly rich, delicious, expensive meal only to realize the entire setup was a trap and you're going to violently vomit it right back up.
It's such intense imagery.
It really is. And then just to cap off the evening, you look out the window and all your hard-earned savings have suddenly sprouted eagle wings and are just flying away into the sky.
Just gone. Yeah, it is incredibly brutal imagery.
Yeah.
It's completely jarring. And, well, that is exactly the point. Because today we are diving into a specific collection of ancient wisdom. We're looking at Proverbs chapter 23, and it absolutely refuses to pull its punches.
No, it does not.
It's dealing with the things that quietly destroy us from the inside out, unchecked ambition, toxic networking, and addiction.
Which is wild because it's ancient, but reading through it, it feels like, I don't know, like someone wrote a psychological profile of modern hustle culture just yesterday.
Oh, absolutely.
And so what we're doing in this deep dive today is summarizing these timeless teachings, right? We want to translate them into modern applications, keep it brisk, and really discover how this ancient wisdom can actually strengthen your trust and your relationship with God today.
Yeah, and it sets up this foundational theme right away, which is that true wisdom requires intense, almost painful restraint.
Right.
It's really about fighting the human impulse for immediate gratification.
Yeah.
And the very first trap it warns you about is the pursuit of status.
Which we're all surrounded by constantly.
Exactly. It paints this picture of sitting down to eat with a ruler, and it delivers that intense line. Put a knife to thy throat if thou be a man given to appetite.
Which is it's a terrifyingly vivid way to describe the danger of ambition.
It really is. And the text goes on to warn that you shouldn't desire the ruler's dainties because they are deceitful meat.
Deceitful meat.
Yeah, think about what makes meat deceitful. In the ancient world, and honestly in the modern world too, a lavish meal with a powerful person is rarely just about sharing calories,
Right, there's always an agenda.
Exactly, it's a transaction. The powerful person has resources, and they are using that luxury to test you, to buy your loyalty, or to obligate you.
I instantly thought of those high-end corporate networking dinners. You know the exact scenario.
Oh, yeah, the steak dinner.
Right. A vendor or a higher-up invites you out. You get the free perks, the $100 steak, the open bar. And it feels amazing in the moment because, well, your ego is being stroked.
Sure, you feel important.
But the deceitful part is that when you are driven by appetite, when you are just starving for status or a promotion, you completely lose your peripheral vision.
Yes.
You think you're getting a free lunch, but you're actually the one on the menu. You're being programmed.
That loss of peripheral vision is the real danger here. The text is pointing out that when you sit at that table, your ambition makes you incredibly vulnerable to manipulation.
Because you want it so badly.
Right. And that's why it tells you to put a knife to your throat. It means you have to severely restrict your own appetite for power and status, or that appetite will absolutely be weaponized against you.
Wow.
And this flows right into its next major warning, which is the societal obsession with grinding for wealth.
The hustle.
The hustle, exactly. The text explicitly commands, labor not to be rich. Cease from thine own wisdom.
And then it delivers one of the most memorable metaphors I've heard in a really long time. It asks, wilt thou set thine eyes upon that which is not?
Yeah.
Because it says, riches certainly make themselves wings. They fly away as an eagle toward heaven. Not a pigeon, an eagle.
Right, not a pigeon.
It's this violent, powerful departure of wealth that you just cannot catch.
An eagle flies high and fast.
Yeah.
Completely out of your reach. And the psychology here is fascinating because it's attacking the illusion of control.
Okay, unpack that a bit.
Well, we hustle, we grind, we sacrifice our sleep and our relationships because we think wealth equals security. But the text calls wealth that which is not.
That which is not. So it's literally calling it an illusion.
Exactly. It's an illusion. You can work yourself into an early grave, and a market crash, a health crisis, or just a random lawsuit can make it all vanish overnight.
Wait, though, I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second here.
Go for it.
If wealth is so fleeting and it's always ready to sprout wings and fly away, where do you draw the line? Because we still live in the real world, right?
Of course.
We have to pay rent, feed our kids, save for retirement. Isn't seeking financial stability a fundamentally responsible thing to do?
It absolutely is. And the distinction
Wow.
here is between stewardship and obsession.
Yeah.
The ancient wisdom isn't saying, be destitute.
Right.
It's warning against laboring to be rich, meaning making wealth the ultimate target of your life's energy.
Ah, I see.
It becomes toxic when your identity and your sense of safety are entirely tied to a volatile asset. If you are sacrificing your physical health and your moral compass for something that can literally fly away tomorrow, you aren't financially stable. You are financially enslaved.
That makes total sense. And that slavery to ambition naturally leads to the next psychological trap the text outlines. Because when you are desperately hustling for status, you inevitably attract predators.
Yes, you do.
The text talks about eating the bread of someone with an evil eye, someone who says, eat and drink, but whose heart is not with you.
Yeah, this is the person who uses generosity as a snare.
Yeah.
They offer hospitality, but they are secretly calculating exactly what they can extract from you.
They're keeping a ledger.
They are keeping a ledger. And what's really profound is how the text describes the physiological reaction to discovering you've been played.
The vomiting.
The vomiting, yeah.
The aged says, the morsel which thou hast eaten shalt thou vomit up and lose thy sweet words. It's so visceral.
It really is.
To me, that is the perfect description of ultimate buyer's remorse. It's that sickening, hollow feeling in the pit of your stomach when you realize someone you thought was a mentor or a friend was just using you.
Using you for social climbing or access to your boss.
Exactly. All those sweet words, the compliments you gave them, the camaraderie, it all feels tainted and gross in retrospect.
It's like a spiritual and emotional food poisoning.
Yeah.
And it really highlights why intense discernment is non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Not all open doors are opportunities, some are just traps. The text also advises not to speak into the ears of a fool, because they will despise the wisdom of your words.
So you have to be careful with your energy.
Deeply protective of it. You have to protect who gets access to your inner circle, your energy, and your vulnerability.
But, protecting your inner circle is really tough when the manipulative people seem to be the ones running the world.
Oh, sure.
The text specifically warns, let not thine heart envy sinners. And honestly, that is incredibly hard to do.
It is.
When the corrupt people, the ones who cheat the system, who use that deceitful meat to buy influence, when they're the ones winning all the awards, getting the promotions, and living in the nicest houses, how do you actually maintain your integrity without feeling like a sucker who's just falling behind?
That is the universal human struggle, isn't it? Envy is a natural byproduct of a society that measures success strictly by external metrics.
Right.
But the text forces you to zoom out and look at the timeline. It insists that their success is temporary. It promises, for surely there is an end, and that expectation shall not be cut off.
The expiration date.
Exactly. Fraudulent success always has an expiration date. If you compromise your integrity to keep up with someone who is cheating, you are trading a permanent piece of your character for a temporary reward.
Wow.
The text is urging you to play the long game. When you envy the corrupt, you are envying someone who is building a mansion on top of a sinkhole.
It looks great today.
It looks impressive today, but the foundation is completely hollow. Your character, on the other hand, is the only thing you actually get to keep.
And when people lose sight of that long game, when they are exhausted by the toxic hustle and sickened by the manipulative people around them, they usually look for an escape hatch, don't they?
They do, and the most common escape hatch is excess.
Right. And the text takes a very sharp turn right here and addresses addiction with an honesty that is almost hard to read.
It really is. It warns against being among wine bubbers and riotous eaters of flesh, noting that the drunkard and the glutton will come to poverty and that drowsiness shall clothe a man with rags.
Yeah.
But it's not just a moralistic wagging of the finger.
Mm-hmm.
It dives deep into the actual psychological mechanism of addiction.
The imagery it uses to describe alcohol is terrifyingly accurate. It talks about how the wine looks red, giving its color in the cup, moving itself aright.
It's alluring.
It's alluring. It goes down smoothly. You take that first drink to numb the exhaustion of the day. But the text says, at the last, it biteth like a serpent and stingeth like an adder.
Yeah.
It starts smooth, but it ends in venom.
And then it perfectly captures the psychological vertigo of being out of control. It describes feeling like you're lying down in the midst of the sea or balancing on the very top of a ship's mast during a storm.
I can't even imagine.
You are completely unmoored. You have zero control over your own trajectory. You're just being tossed around by forces much larger than yourself. It mentions that it causes your eyes to see strange things and your heart to utter perverse things, it literally alters your reality and your core personality.
Which brings us to what might be the most chilling line in the entire text. It says, "They have stricken me, shalt thou say, and I was not sick. They have beaten me, and I felt it not. When shall I awake? I will seek it yet again."
It's heartbreaking.
That right there is the tragedy of addiction in a nutshell. You wake up battered, your life is in shambles, your relationships are failing, and the very first thought your hijacked brain produces is, I need to go back to the poison.
Because the poison has convinced you that it's the cure. The text also links this to other immediate temptations. Warning of the deep ditch and narrow pit of the strange woman or a prostitute. It's describing traps that lie in wait for prey.
Right.
Whether it's substance abuse or destructive physical gratification, the mechanism really hasn't changed in thousands of years. It's this desperate attempt to fill a void with something that ultimately consumes you.
So how do we stop the cycle? Because in contrast to all this chaotic excess, the text prescribes discipline, but it uses language that is going to make modern listeners flinch. It explicitly talks about beating a child with a rod, saying, "If thou beatest him with the rod, he shall not die," and that it will deliver his soul from hell. Now, obviously, physical discipline is a deeply controversial and jarring concept today.
Absolutely.
So how do we take the actual underlying intent of that ancient standard and apply it to modern mentorship and family harmony today?
Well, it's important to understand why the ancient text used that imagery. In their context, strict guidance and correction were viewed as literal life-saving interventions.
Because the world was so dangerous.
Exactly. The world was incredibly dangerous, and a lack of self-control meant literal death. Today, the mechanism we take from this is the absolute necessity of firm, unyielding boundaries.
Like a guardrail on a mountain road.
That's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
A child might hate the guardrail because it scratches the paint on their car and stops them from driving wherever they want.
Right.
But the guardrail is an act of profound love because it stops them from going off the cliff into that deep ditch of excess we just talked about.
Wow, yeah.
Modern discipline is really about structural care. If you do not teach a young person how to self-regulate, how to handle the word no, and how to delay gratification, the world will teach them those lessons in far more brutal ways later on.
Ah, that is so true.
Setting boundaries actually rewires a young person's brain to recognize limits, preventing them from waking up battered on that ship's mast later in life.
Okay, so if we successfully set these boundaries, if we manage to strip away the exhausting pursuit of eagle-winged wealth, and we avoid the manipulative networks with their deceitful meat. Right.
And we steer clear of the serpent's bite of addiction, we are essentially left with a massive void in our lives. We need a new operating system.
We do.
And the text tells us exactly what to install to fill that void.
It commands, buy the truth and sell it not, also wisdom and instruction and understanding.
I love the verb there, buy the truth.
Yes.
It implies that truth and wisdom aren't free. You know, they cost you something. They cost your ego. They cost your comfort. And sometimes they cost your social standing.
Absolutely.
But then it says sell it not. It's like investing in the ultimate blue chip asset.
Exactly. And why is it a blue chip asset? Because unlike your stock portfolio or your bank account, which we establish, can crash and fly away overnight, integrity and wisdom actually compound during a crisis.
That's a great point.
When everything goes wrong, the people who've compromised their character are destroyed. But the person who bought the truth and refused to sell it becomes a pillar.
They stand firm. The worse the market gets, the more valuable your integrity becomes. It's the one thing in your portfolio you should never, ever trade away for a temporary perk.
And it changes the legacy you leave, too. The text points out how this brings joy to families, saying, "The father of the righteous shall greatly rejoice, and parents will be glad when a child speaks right things."
It's generational.
Yeah, but there's a much deeper layer here, too. A spiritual anchor. The text warns, "Remove not the old landmark, and enter not into the fields of the fatherless. For their Redeemer is mighty. He shall plead their cause with thee."
This is where the entire psychological and practical journey connects to a really profound spiritual reality.
Okay, break that down for us.
So the old landmarks were the ancient property lines. Moving them was a sneaky way for the rich to secretly steal land from the vulnerable, like orphans or widows, just nudging the fence a few inches at a time.
Oh, wow.
But the text says you shouldn't do this, not just because it's mean, but because those vulnerable people have a mighty Redeemer who will personally take up their case against you.
So if we internalize this, if we really believe that God is this mighty Redeemer who fights for the vulnerable and offers us this unfailing wisdom, How does that practically change the way we live today? Like, how does it affect our daily anxieties about the future?
Well, it completely shifts your dependency. Think about the sequence we've walked through today.
Okay.
When you realize that the world's wealth is an illusion that sprouts wings, and that human status is just deceitful meat, it's actually incredibly freeing.
Because you stop chasing it.
Exactly. It strips away all your false idols. You realize money makes a terrible god, status makes a terrible god, because they are fundamentally unreliable.
They will always betray you eventually.
Right. And when you realize that those short-term temptations are hollow, you naturally lean on the mighty Redeemer. Practicing what the text calls the fear of the Lord all the day long means anchoring your life to God's unchanging wisdom rather than unpredictable worldly success.
That makes so much sense.
Following these boundaries, refusing to exploit people, rejecting the toxic hustle, maintaining your integrity, it aligns your daily habits with God's design. And as you live that way, you start to see His protective boundaries actually working in your own life.
You see the results.
You avoid the serpent's bite, you avoid the buyer's remorse of toxic relationships, and that lived experience naturally deepens your trust in Him because you see that His wisdom actually works.
That brings everything full circle so beautifully. And just to recap the incredibly dense journey we've taken today in this deep dive, we've explored the psychology behind the deceitful meats of status and networking.
We covered a lot.
We really did. We've recognized the fleeting, violent eagle wings of wealth. We've looked honestly at the serpent's bite of escapism and addiction, and instead of falling into those traps, we're challenged to set firm guardrails and invest everything we have in the enduring, compounding asset of wisdom and trust in a mighty Redeemer.
It's a powerful roadmap. And, if there's one final thought I would leave you to ponder after all of this, it's about those old landmarks.
Yeah.
Consider the old landmarks in your own life. The foundational truths, the moral boundaries, and the core convictions that you hold. In our modern culture, you will constantly be tempted to slowly move them.
Just an inch at a time.
Just an inch at a time for the sake of convenience or to fit in or, to grab a little more of that deceitful meat. What would happen if you chose to fiercely protect them instead?
That is a profound challenge to end on. You now understand this ancient call to intense restraint, the dangers of unchecked appetite, and the immense power of relying on a mighty Redeemer. So the only question left is, how will you apply this information in your life?